What's going on, everybody? It is time to dream stream here at FTNDaily.com. Hope your Monday afternoon is going well. Adam, I'm still buzzing from a very successful weekend of soccer here in Austin, setting all kinds of MLS scoring records, top of the league. Like I said, man, I had a great weekend. I'm ready to get into this NBA slate. We've got all kinds of value to talk through. Still some injury news we're waiting on. But as people file in, you and I haven't talked for a couple of days. So how you doing, man?
Yeah, I missed both days of the FTN NBA pod. Thursday, talked about this on stream with Kyle. I just had the most random not even 24-hour, like 10-hour stomach bug. But felt better, hopped on stream with Kyle on Friday, and then Saturday I saw the Batman. Chef's kiss. Yeah. Fantastic. I encourage everyone to go watch that movie. And then, yeah, we have this crazy slate. It's just, I wish there was stuff to talk about. I really do.
Yeah, I think we'll be able to uncover a thing or two over these next 54 minutes and change as we inch towards lock of this 8-game slate. Only 2 of the 8 going off right at 7 p.m. Eastern at lock. So we will make sure to cover those games extensively. But as always, on Monday, we had Kyle and David behind the paywall before us doing the game by game. I believe they left us actually that final game, Kings and Knicks, the late night hammer, 10:30 p.m. Eastern. So I guess we will cover that game extensively as well. But, you know, the rest of the time, we're going to do what we do, man. We're going to let our premium subs here in the Discord channel kind of guide us throughout the next hour or so. And I'm excited for it, man. So let's go ahead and get into this. Let's go ahead and just touch on these first 2 games and any of the news that we're waiting on or has broken from these games over the last hour. We'll start Hawks at the Pistons. The Pistons ruling out Hamidou Diallo in the last hour. Frank Jackson also out for this team. And then on the other side, the visiting Hawks, Red Velvet, Kevin Huerter ruled out about 15 minutes ago. So going to open up some more time for DeAndre Hunter, Bogdan Bogdanovic, etc. When you look at this game, I'll throw it to you. Pick a team, pick a player. What strikes your fancy on DraftKings with Hawks and Pistons?
Yeah, it's definitely Trae Young. It's a slate where we'll talk about it. We'll probably hit home on it 50 times, but you can play anybody you want on this slate. And it'll be interesting to see, like, I haven't looked at the optimizer or anything, but like how popular Trae Young is when it's so easy to play LeBron James and Jokic, assuming he doesn't get scratched, or Dejante Murray, like anybody. And Trae Young is like, he's a stud, but he's not like an 11K stud. You also have Harden and Embiid. But I love the spot here. I mean, yes, John Collins is back, but he may still be limited. And even in the minutes that, you know, Trae Young has played on the floor with John Collins, he still has a 33.5% usage rate. Trae Young scored about 52.5 fantasy points the last time these teams met, and it's such a good spot for him. The Pistons allow the most points per possession to opposing pick-and-roll ball handlers, and Trae Young leads the NBA in points per game out of the pick-and-roll at 13.6. They also allow the highest field goal percentage off the play type, the 3rd highest field goal percentage to players off screen. So, like, everything you can think of that could benefit Trae Young here, it does for this Pistons matchup. So Trae Young is legitimately one of my favorite plays this slate, and I don't even think he'll be that popular given the fact that it's so easy to get to anybody you want at the high end, right? I mean, Jokic, Luka, Embiid, LeBron, Harden, Murray, Towns. So I like Trae Young a lot here. And honestly, like, that's mostly it. Like, if maybe you can get to, Bogdanovic with Huerter out or Hunter. Like, I'm not playing Capella because with Collins and now Okongwu off the out of the concussion protocol, the last time we saw Collins, Capella, and Okongwu all healthy, Capella was starting and playing the majority of the first half and then not closing games and ultimately capping out at about 25 minutes. So that's it from Atlanta. And from Detroit, you can make the case on Cade Cunningham, right? There's a ceiling there. but it's just so tough to get to that mid range on this slate where it's pretty much stars and scrubs.
Yeah, I think I guess I'll start kind of back at the top where you were on Trey. I agree all the points that you made. I think if I was building my 20 max MME build tonight, I would probably end up under the field on Trey just because I prefer some of the other studs that we're going to get to.
Like who, Zach?
Well, I could list off 5 specifically. Give me Jokic, give me Towns.
I was just teasing for you to say Dejante. So.
Oh well, and he's coming. Don't worry. But
I love Deshante.
I'll just go ahead and get out ahead of this. I love on DraftKings pairing Jokic and Towns. You have no trouble getting those two in with all the value that we will cover. And then the trio after those guys that I would have in heavy rotation in my MME builds are Dejante, shocker, LeBron on the other side of that game. And then Luka Doncic, who over his last 14 games has like a 41.5% usage rate. Just absurd performances by Luka lately, and he should be back. No Jalen Brunson in that game either. So Trae Young really comes in as a secondary stud play for me, but he's definitely somebody. If I'm running 20 lineups, I'm not full fading Trae. I'm just a little bit more hesitant than I had been over the previous games where John Collins was out. And I know he came off the bench last time, but I think we probably see him get back into the starting lineup here. And if he does, then he will get it. He's at a 7 right now in the ranks, assuming that he was going to come off the bench. But if he does get in that starting lineup again, I think I'm leaning that way. He'll get that upgrade there in the ranks. Obviously, with Red Velvet out, I think Bogdan and Hunter are the other 2 guys that would make my pool. And you mentioned how kind of convoluted the Atlanta front court was when we last saw Capella and Collins and Okongwu all available. So it's really, I'm shying away from Capella and Okongwu with all the other values I really can't get to. And you mentioned Cade Cunningham, right? I don't think he's ever out of play at a 7.5 price tag just because of the upside we know that he has, but there's no way I can prioritize him on this slate. He's somebody that would make my pool, and I wouldn't be surprised if I ended up with none. Jeremy Grant at 6.5 falls into that category as well. Yeah. I'd rather spend the extra 1,000 and get to Cade if I was going to go there. But
Diallo being out is obviously, I don't want to say massive for him, but it helps. But they still have Kelly O. Isaiah Stewart's playing 27 to 30 minutes, and Marvin Bagley's like quietly playing really well for them in the minutes he gets. So Grant is cheap enough to where it's he fits lineups, and he probably projects third in minutes on this team, I would say, behind Cade, maybe second, but probably third behind Cunningham and Sadiq Bey. But it's on a slate like this, it's even less exciting than it normally is.
Yeah, I think you mentioned Bagley. I think you're perfectly fine to slot him into a lineup or 2, but I don't think he's somebody that I'm getting to in any sort of single entry 3 max type of build. Certainly not a cash play with his volatility. We've seen the 32.5 DK in 22 minutes last time out against Indiana, but he's also done in 23 minutes against Boston, a much better defensive team, of course, but only 13 DK points, just to kind of show you the highs and the lows of what rostering Marvin Bagley can do on a slate like this. Corey Joseph, I think, is somebody that also needs to be mentioned. I would certainly have some Kojo in 150 lineups, and he might make it into 1 or 2 if I was running my 20 at 3.6. Should play high 20s, maybe touch that 30-minute mark again. He's not a fantasy point per minute monster, not by any stretch, but at 3.6, I think that's a bit too cheap for him. Anything else you want to add on this game?
Not at all.
I know we're have a couple questions stacking up there, HB Cards, Kroger's. I see you. We'll get there in a second. Just want to talk about Bulls and Sixers here. I guess the biggest piece of news we're still waiting on from these first 2 games is Nikola Vucevic. Game time decision with that hamstring. So obviously we would have Tristan Thompson, who is power forward eligible, entering our lives in a big way. If Vooch is out, then Tony Bradley would also make it into my pool if I was running 150, but I probably would not get a ton of Tony Bradley in that scenario. But looking across the ball, I think regardless of if Vooch is active or not, who is going to slow down Joel Embiid tonight? And you'll notice he didn't make that list of 5 studs that I was talking about. So how do we maneuver and get Embiid or Harden, who's also very expensive, into our lineups today? Or is that something you would be avoiding?
I think it's tough to get to Embiid and Harden. I think there's Harden, we've seen the assist rate has been stupid since joining this team. I think if you look at the matchup, it favors. I know Chicago's also without their two best defensive players in the front and the backcourt still, but I still think this matchup favors Embiid. Like the Bulls have been terrible against centers. Vucevic, like not a good defender, but if he's out, I think it helps Embiid because he's not going to have to use as much energy defensively against Tony Bradley and Double T. So I do like Embiid, but it's just tough to get to him. Like, especially, we'll talk about the Golden State game, but like as long as Jokic is active, like it just like even though the game could stay closer for Philly, like we saw yesterday, Jokic's ceiling is just so stupid, and you could like Jokic had a higher ceiling than Embiid before the trade, and now on a game-to-game basis, his upside is higher than Embiid's with Harden. So it's tough to get there, but I love this spot. I do think there is an interesting point here that if Vucevic sits, it might actually help James Harden's, or if Vucevic plays rather, it might help James Harden's rebounding because Vucevic is pick and pop, he shoots threes, and it maybe keeps Embiid away. Like Embiid's still going to get at worst 8 rebounds, but maybe Harden gets up to like 8 or 9 if it's more Vucevic, 3-point line. But either way, they are the only 2 plays from Philadelphia. I get Maxey, but it's not the slate for Maxey. And look, if I've rarely had interest in Tobias Harris as a second option on this team earlier in the year, I don't have interest in him as the 4th. So, yeah.
Well, the good thing is Anthony won't have to turn off the stream now, as he told me and Joe the other day that he would have to turn off the stream if we recommended Tobias. And I think the answer was you can play him. You
can play anybody you want.
Yeah, exactly. I think I'm pretty much in lockstep with you there. I do want to throw this question at you. If you had to choose between the two, would you Embiid or Harden? Position price not considered. Which guy are you going with?
I would slightly prefer Joel Embiid.
Okay. I think I would go.
I think Embiid has the safer like game-to-game basis floor.
Yes.
But Harden has the holy shit, like he just had 35, 14, and 10.
Right. And we saw that against the Knicks a week ago or last Sunday.
This whole team, like I think it's pretty obvious this team is a legitimate contender, but there is a lot of regression coming where Harden's assist rate is like abnormally high. Tyrese Maxey's shooting 71% from 3 since there's some regression coming, but it's James Harden and Joel. Like I think if you're looking for more of the floor in your lineup, it's Embiid, but Harden, like he could have the highest scoring total of the slate easily.
Sure. Let's touch on the other side of this game again. We talked about the front court and the Vooch news that we should get really any minute now.
Billy Donovan did say he's likely to play, but that that could mean nothing. Like,
yeah. Well, that's the good thing about it, I think, is that we're going to get this news before the game locks. So we'll really know if we have to. I mean, in my opinion, I don't think I'm messing with this game at all, and probably not a ton of the Hawks Pistons game either.
You wouldn't go to Levine or DeRozan if Vucevic is out, both over 30% usage?
That was going to be my next question to you was, I guess, Vooch in or out, what's your level of interest in those guys? Because obviously a big $1,600 discount to get down to Levine from DeMar.
And
DeMar with Levine back, DeMar hasn't really shown that same type of ceiling that we saw when Levine was absent. So I think we're kind of in lockstep there that Levine is the one we would target first just because of the price. He stands out more. What about any of those other pieces? Can you Kobe White, Ayo Dosunmu, Javonte Green? Like those guys aren't standing out to me at all.
No, and you brought up a good point in Discord earlier. Like if we do get Tristan Thompson starting, like I know we started last game, like if Vucevic is active, we don't think Thompson starts again, right?
I wouldn't think so.
I don't think they would go with that lineup
again. And then that would, because of his price in the context of the full slate, like that would be a big boost, I think, for Tobias Harris on the offensive end if they're going to try to run TT out there. Yeah, but
him being power forward eligible is massive because we have high-end centers on every slate, but we also have potentially Hassan Whiteside, and I've talked about already that I love Mitchell Robinson today. So, if Thompson starts at center but is power forward eligible, like, does he have a massive ceiling? No, I'd be shocked if he scored more than like 12 real points, but could get 10 rebounds, 4 assists and a couple stocks, and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Not even, doesn't even have to get 10 rebounds.
Let's here comes Anthony. Let's hit the chat here and clear some of these questions out. Anthony says, talking Tobias Harris, good night. Turn the show off. Thanks. Yeah, I'm here just to serve you, Ant. HB Card's asking, am I going to move Golden State guys up in the ranks if Porter and Juan Toscano Anderson are out? So let's go ahead and jump to that game. My answer would be yes, very much so. Nemanja Bjelica comes to mind first if those guys are out. Already have a lot of love for Jonathan Kuminga, regardless of who is in or out. And then, I mean, it could be one of them plays and one of them sits. And I would like JTA. I think I would rather JTA sit than Otto because I think less people get to Otto, and I think he's still a very good play if he is in. And JTA center only is not something that really strikes my fancy tonight, but you would have to get some as long as he is active. I guess bearing the lead here for anybody who is just tuning in and getting kind of their first exposure to this slate during the Dream Stream here. No Steph, no Clay, no Wiggins, no Draymond still, and obviously no James Wiseman, Iguodala, and Gary Payton Jr., or Gary Payton II, excuse me. Both remain out for this team as well. So a very shorthanded Warriors team. That's why we're talking Bjelica and Damian Lee and the cum bucket, right? So when you look at the Warriors here, Adam, what stands out to you? Like Jordan Poole, I think, is the obvious one. Is there anybody else that you're immediately clicking into a lineup?
I mean, I don't know. Like I don't know if anybody projects for like 30 plus minutes other than Poole, but anybody that's like, this is a situation where there's a very strong possibility that they have 8 players. And when that happens, it's just, oh, this player's is going to play 20 plus minutes. Like, playing. Like, I almost don't even know how much analysis we need for Golden State, especially if JTA and Porter are out. It's just like, obviously players project better than others. Like Jordan Poole's usage rate is massive. So is Kuminga's compared to, some of the other players. But like Bjelica, you mentioned, like he kind of does a little bit of everything when he gets minutes. It'll be tough. The one player I probably wouldn't get to with a lot of, regularity would be Kevon Looney, just because like the centers we're going to talk about in his price range a little bit more. Like I just feel there's a higher ceiling, but just Golden State is obviously the focal point of this slate, and it'll be tough to not get at least 2, 3 in your lineup.
See another question here from my guy Steelers fan asking if 4 Warriors are too many, and I think no, and the answer is most certainly no if those guys end up out. To your point, If it had 8 guys, we just saw a situation like that in Portland on Friday or Saturday or whatever it was. And a lot of those guys obviously smashed their price tags, and you could have had multiple of those guys and you really needed to hit the right combination. So no, 4 is not too many for me. And obviously we'll have to see how this news breaks. This is the second to last game on this 8-game slate.
And like if Barton's out,
and speaking of out, D'Angelo Russell, so we can move to the Timberwolves here.
That entire game. And I bet we'd get the Beverly news in the next couple minutes, too, if we didn't get it already. That entire game is just going to be like, oh, you can play that player.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot more opening up here. The Timberwolves taking on the Blazers, who are still shorthanded, but will have more than that minimum 8 players. Patrick Beverly is in. Anthony Edwards out as expected. So
Beverly's in, you said?
Yes, Beverly's in. Naz Reid is in. I think that was expected.
So,
Torian Prince is also in.
So Prince and Beverly being in, does that take us off like Noel? Takes us off of Noel and McLaughlin, right?
I mean, with no D'Lo, like I think those guys are still in play. We'll have to see who gets the start because I mean Beasley, after getting thrown out against Portland, Beasley should be back. Maybe he continues to start here. He's 4-3, and maybe he goes overlooked now. I mean, if you're just game log watching, you see the 33 and the 28, and then just the 21.5 against Portland. But that was in 21 minutes. He was well on his way. That was mid to early third quarter when he got tossed in that one. He was well on his way to just obliterating his 3-2 price tag at the time. And any of those, say he played the rest of the game, right? Even if he only gave you 4, 5, 6 more DK points, his last 3 games, you would be perfectly fine with that output at 4-3. Today, you just have to gauge that up against all the other value that a lot of it's coming in cheaper and maybe projects higher than Beasley. But I think he now enters also as a very interesting value play. You did ask me initially about Noel and McLaughlin. I think I would prefer McLaughlin with Beasley in. Noel really got that extra run and the extra production after Beasley was run out of that game. So that's how I would approach it. But I also want to touch on Karl Anthony Towns because I think he is my favorite spend up overall on this slate at this point, even over Jokic. You get the $2,000 discount there on DraftKings. Again, I like to pair those two spend up centers, but we saw that Portland game, which stayed relatively close until the end. 36 points, 15 boards, 5 assists, 3 blocks there for Towns on only 17 shots, almost 70 DK points. You don't need 70 tonight to be extremely happy with his production, and I think 60 plus is very much in the cards now with D'Lo and Anthony Edwards out. That's so much usage going to Towns, but also to Beasley.
We've seen him have like outlier assist games too with Edwards or Russell out. Like there was a stretch where Russell was out where it was like, oh, Cat has 8 assists, Cat has 9 assists, and the usage rate's obviously well over 30% with both players off the floor. So, and the other thing is Portland's roster right now, especially tonight, worse in the NBA, given the players that they're missing. But no Russell, no Edwards. That spread of open at like 14.5, very, very strong chance or a better chance the game stays more competitive, which is great for Towns, great for Minnesota. Because like if the game got out of hand, Portland would still play. You know, they only have probably 9-10 players anyway, but it's good for Minnesota.
Yeah, I do not disagree with you here. Let's see, HB Cards asking blowout risk for Jokic. Jokic's upside. My answer to that, Adam, is Jokic is the blowout with this team.
Especially if Barton's out.
Exactly, and Will Barton questionable there for the Nuggets. Oh boy, so we have Josh Lloyd here, who Josh Lloyd obviously not always 100% correct, but is very plugged in to a lot of sources around the league, and he says it looks like Vooch is out. Will update. So just to throw another wrench into the value pool, as we already talked about, we may be smashing in some Tristan Thompson at forward here very shortly, but we'll get that news confirmed well before lock here. We still have about 32 minutes and change until these first 2 games lock. Let's talk the other side of that Minnesota-Portland game, though, because obviously no Lillard, no Nurkic, Justice Winslow, Nas Little, Eric Bledsoe still out, Dennis Smith waived, Cody Zeller out for the year, I believe, same with Joe Ingles, and now Anthony Simons is out. So Anthony Simons taking a seat, Josh Hart returning to the lineup, along with Greg Brown, who else sat out, Elijah Hughes, those guys are back. So like we mentioned earlier, more bodies available here for Portland, but I think some standout values, and it starts with Brandon Williams, who should pick up 30-plus minutes at the point guard position, 3-8 on DK. He is, I think I was talking to Jay Wynn earlier, asked who I would lock into a 20 max build. Brandon Williams is that guy for me. So I guess start with the little-known Brandon Williams, at least until the last week, to the DFS community. And then kind of take me through the rest of this team because I think there's some places we can attack.
Yeah, Brandon Williams has a 26% usage rate over his last 4 games, and Simons played in all those games, I believe. So take Simons out, obviously. There's upwards, upside of up to 30% usage and 15, 20 shot attempts. So Williams and Josh Hart are clearly the 2 best. Josh Hart, we haven't seen Josh Hart as the best player on the team. It's been the Pelicans players have been out, but they've still had Brandon Ingram or Joe Val, and other places he's been like the 3rd or 4th option at best. So I think we see him facilitate a lot. We already know he rebounds at a high rate, and his usage rate in the small sample since joining Portland with Simons off the floor has been well over 30%. So I honestly think, like, at least on DraftKings, I'm only really interested in those 2 just because, like, we've seen Watford get priced up. LB at, I think, mid 4K isn't exactly that enticing. Even with everybody out, is still not
Mhm.
that exciting on this slate. FanDuel, they're a lot cheaper, so like it makes more sense over there. But on DraftKings, it's honestly probably just Hart and Brandon Williams from Portland for me.
Yeah, I think I would also have some interest in Watford because of the power forward eligibility. You can
Sure.
absolutely Drew Eubanks. We've seen 2 of the last 3 games have been Drew Eubanks' 2 highest career minutes outputs. Over 150 appearances in the NBA. So I think we have some confidence with his minutes there. Got 28 and a half, I believe, last game against this same team. So you can go there. I would prefer Watford. But the prices are elevated on both of those guys to where they're not priority value plays for me. Elijah Hughes, assuming he gets back into the starting lineup there, guard forward eligible and min price on DK is somebody that I would have some interest in getting some shares of in an MME build. But I don't think I'm going to Elijah Hughes in a single entry or in any sort of 3 max context or contest, excuse me, as I get my words mixed up because I'm trying to read with my brain. Nikola Vucevic listed out for Monday.
Bump Levine, bump double T.
Yep.
Good luck, Bulls, stopping Vooch or Embiid.
Mm-hmm.
Is anybody playing tonight? Like in the NBA? Is anybody playing?
I tell you what, Dejante Murray is playing, and we can go ahead and go to that game. Lakers visiting the Spurs tonight. The Spurs will be shorthanded, or at least we assume so. Devin Vassell, doubtful. Lonnie Walker IV, doubtful. Keita Bates-Diop, doubtful. So that's going to open up some more time, some more usage for guys like Keldon Johnson, Doug McDermott, Josh Primo. I think is an interesting value play that should come in really low owned, that I think he's somebody that we would be paying more attention to on a slate with less value. Same kind of thing with Doug McDermott and obviously Keldon Johnson coming off that career high 33-point output. I told Joe the other night we should have played the Keldon got benched narrative, and him coming out just guns a-blazing, I think made his first 7 shot attempts.
I was worried. I wasn't paying attention to San Antonio that game. Messaged you the morning I was writing first look. I was like, I love Keldon Johnson this game, but I saw his minutes. I was like, uh-oh. I'm pretty sure he didn't get hurt. So I had to message Zach, the resident Spurs expert. And I said, I'll take the plunge. I'll write him up in first look. And yeah, he went off.
Let's see. So here comes the Philly contingent. Tyreek in the chat saying Tristan Thompson, foul trouble incoming.
Thompson officially starting at the 5. Javonte Green at the 4. DeRozan, Levine, Ayo.
Yeah, so no real surprises there, I don't think, with Vooch out. We just expected Tristan to slide from the 4 to the 5 right after the last game. Back to the Spurs just for a moment here. Dejante Murray, I don't think we have to discuss too much why we like him. Like, it's just kind of like read the game log, watch him play. Have you been paying attention to DFS this year? The price is up there. 11-1, I think, is a new career high price for Dejante on DraftKings, but I think it's well warranted. Yeah. I think, mid 50s is what we should expect. And I think there's upside for obviously 70 plus if he can hit that triple double bonus. Was 1 rebound shy in that 6-point loss to Charlotte 2 nights ago. 1 rebound shy of getting that triple double bonus. So I like Dejante. We had a question in the chat here asking about any Pirtle love. I don't have any Pirtle love at nearly 8K, 7-9. I talked about the other centers that I want to spend up and pair in one lineup on DK tonight. How do you feel about Jake Puddle?
I don't. So.
And we got the Blazers lineup here. So Brandon Williams, Josh Hart, CJ Ellaby, Trendon Watford starting at the 4 alongside Drew Eubanks in that front court. So
Towns is going to absolutely go off against that.
I agree. But I do think that's a pretty significant bump to bolster the value of somebody like Trendon Watford as we see his price rise. Still having that forward eligibility, obviously starting at the 4 tonight. I do like that play as well. Let's talk Lakers here. I don't think there's a lot of places that we want to attack here. Russ on DK 8-1.
Do you have faith in Russ on FanDuel at 6,900?
It's a very nice price, but I still can't get there, man. Like it's
such a good spot.
It's a correct price. It's a correct price. it doesn't jump off the page. On FanDuel, I'm not calling you crazy if you roster him. And on DK, it's like, man, if 8-1 Russ is what beats me tonight on this slate, congrats to the people that did pony up 8-1 for Russell Westbrook on this slate. Not where I'm going, but I do have a lot of interest in spending 3.5K more for LeBron. Really, Adam, regardless of if he starts at the 5 or not. I think that not only is he showing some flashes in these games where like it looks like he's, they're trying to make the play-in game and get some wins and secure their spot in that tournament. But I also think, and this point has been made on various podcasts that I've heard over the past few days, one of my good buddies who's a lifelong LeBron fan was talking about this. LeBron's now using the rest of this season, or could be using it to get closer to the all-time scoring record. Obviously, he's a few thousand off of that, but at this point of his career, I don't think he's shutting it down to end the season like he did a few years ago. And so why not continue to rack up the points here?
And by the way, maybe he wants to make the playoffs. Like maybe.
Yeah. Well, again, that's what I'm saying. Like those two things combined, 11.6 price tag, I think is worth it tonight for LeBron in a game that's supposed to stay close. Spurs are favored here at home. I really hope that they blow this game to the Lakers. Come on, LeBron.
Is Pop
you need this game
two
more.
Away for Pop?
Yeah. So a win would tie it, and 2 wins would get him the record. I honestly, Adam, I wouldn't complain if he didn't get the record this year. I would not complain because then he's going to blow past that record next year if they're able to pick up the number 1, number 2, number 3 pick here. Let's get back on track. I think Malik Monk is somebody that I could throw into my MME builds and be just fine with whatever exposure I got. It would not be a ton, but at 5.4 should continue to start here for the Lakers, and it's a good matchup against the Spurs. Be on the lookout for a Dwight Howard start here, but even if he does, I'm not sure I'm going to have a ton of interest there. I think I would still prefer to get to the guard and forward value on this slate because of how much I want exposure to Jokic, Towns, and then some of the other centers that we've talked about.
Yeah. It's really LeBron, and that's it from this entire team. If you have some faith in Russ over on FanDuel, I get it. The matchup is really good. San Antonio has been awful against point guards, but it's just been a lost season for Russ for fantasy.
Yep, and Woolsey here asking, did you guys talk Mitch? Robbie just got to the stream. So I mentioned at the top, I think that's the one game that the game by game behind the paywall did not get to before we came on air. So let's go ahead and break down that game. But before we get there, Adam, almost 80 of you watching this stream right now. The stream is free, so you don't have to be an FTN sub to be watching right now. But whether you're a sub or not, go ahead and hit that thumbs up, hit that like button. Only 15 likes with 75 people watching. We can get that ratio, that percentage higher. And if you haven't subscribed yet to the FTN channel, hit that subscribe button, click the notification bell if you want to know when FTN goes live. So the late night hammer, Adam, Knicks visiting the Kings, continuing their West Coast swing here. Obviously a good matchup pace-wise for the Knicks, but Julius Randle priced up. RJ Barrett, 8K flat. He's been great as of late, especially with the usage. Finally dropped down below 20 shot attempts in that last game, but it was a blowout of the Clippers and his minutes were cut. I think we can expect in a close game another like 40-ish minutes from RJ Barrett. Can you get to Julius Randle or RJ at the top here?
I think you can get to Barrett. I won't get to Randall, though. The only players from this team I like are Barrett, and I love Mitchell Robinson. Look, he's been very good lately. We already have Obi Toppin and Nerlens Noel ruled out. His usage rate is not going to be high ever. We understand that. But his rebounding rate with both players off the floor is at 34%, just under a fantasy point per minute. And, would you like Mitchell Robinson to actually get usage and post-ups and touches? Sure, but he leads the NBA in points per game off putbacks, more than any player in basketball at 3.8 per game. The Sacramento Kings allow the 5th most putback points per game, so it's suited so well for him. You like the pace up spot, and what perfect. They're not exactly. I think there's a $500 difference between Robinson and Hassan Whiteside, but you can wait. You can plug in Hassan Whiteside at center, hope that Gobert gets ruled out, And if he's in, you can find a way to get up to Mitchell Robinson at 5,200 on DraftKings, who plays at the late game. So that's a very interesting way to go about it. I like Robinson a lot. He was in first look. It's actually the first player I wrote up in first look. So not saying he's the best play of the slate, obviously, but I try not to write up Luka, LeBron, and Jokic as 3 players. But I love Mitchell Robinson, especially more so now with both Nerlens and Obi Toppin out.
Mm-hmm. And did we also get Taj Gibson? Is he questionable, I believe, with an illness? Was unavailable for yesterday's game.
Gibson,
so a chance
I believe,
to come back?
Yeah, he's still questionable, but like doesn't even matter.
Yeah. And so I think
he'll play 12 to 15 minutes probably, but like it doesn't matter that he's in if Nerlens and Toppin are out. Just kind of Robinson will still play. And it's like Robinson's been playing well, and it's not like he's really been it's not like he's reaching 6K. He's still just 5,200.
Yeah, and I think he got an 8 in the ranks here. I very much agree with all your points on Mitch Rob. A lot of that when his minutes were getting cut over kind of the last 10 days, 2 weeks or so before the last 2 games was blowout. It was foul trouble. Mm-hmm. It was various things that were not just Mitch Rob not performing. He was still very good from kind of a points per minute perspective. And you weren't seeing that minutes upside that we've seen in the last 2 games. And again, he would have played more last game if they ran the Clippers off the court.
Foul trouble is a concern with him, as it is with a lot of centers, but there's also that 7 block upside. And De'Aaron Fox on the other side of this game, since he's been in the NBA, has been among the league leaders in drives per game. So there will be shot blocking opportunities for Mitchell Robinson.
How about the other side of this game, right? The Kings hosting this game, the late night hammer. Sabonis, center only, 9-6. Really tough for me to get there with how much I want those other centers.
Towns.
I would much rather Mitch Rob, to be honest, for the savings.
And Towns is what, the same price, I think?
I think he's 1,000 more. Still,
1,000.
It might as well be with how he projects for me tonight.
I'm going to be honest, I don't have any interest in Sacramento.
No De'Aaron Fox for you? Like, how many lineups would you...
He's been awesome. Mm-hmm. If I can get up to Trae Young, that's what I'm doing.
Sure.
In that range, he's clearly the best after there is a significant drop off, right? You have Fox, then you have Westbrook on DraftKings. RJ Barrett's point guard, small forward, but LeBron's only small forward. Just realized that's kind of absurd. Fox has been good. I know Joe wrote up De'Aaron Fox today in his 5 stats article. He's been great. I don't think he's a bad play. It's just it's tough to get to him in this slate. If it's tough to get to, 85, it's tough to get to 8 to 9K players on this slate because it's such a stars and scrubs build.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. So any other Kings Knicks questions in the premium Discord, go ahead and fire those in there. Let's talk Utah and Dallas. I think the one game, really that and Houston and Miami, we should cover here in the next 7 minutes or so. Leave the last 10 minutes for questions. Big news we're waiting on in this Jazz Mavericks game. Rudy Gobert, the midday, or I think kind of mid-morning, questionable. Calf soreness. We've seen him miss multiple games recently.
That's the injury. Calf. He was out for mid-January to mid-February. So I think he's going to sit.
I have him in the ranking still, but if I had to, gun to my head for lack of a better term, I would also say that I think Gobert probably sits this one out with the bigger picture in mind. 33 days, I believe, away from the end of the regular season. Donovan Mitchell here, 9K flat, not standing out for me as a spend up. Obviously, he has the upside, but there's just so many other plays where I'd rather spend my salary tonight. And then kind of the rest of this team, it's either Gobert is out, and then I have some Whiteside interest. Azubuike may start. In that case, I don't think I have interest in either. You could still get to Whiteside off the bench, but it's really hard to get there.
You have no interest in Whiteside even if Azubuike still starts? Because we've seen Azubuike start and Whiteside still smash off the bench in 26 minutes.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's crazy. It's just why would I play Whiteside off the bench when I can also get Mitch Rob starting for 400 more, 500 more, whatever it is. And it's just similar upsides to me, but much safer with Mitch Rob. And both guys will be low owned regardless, I think, with how much other interest there is in centers, across.
So if I told you, and I agree, Mitchell Robinson's safer. I obviously talked about that. I like Mitchell Robinson. But if I told you Whiteside played 26 minutes, given how efficient he is on a permanent basis, and Robinson played 31, would you prefer Robinson still? I
I
think
think I
it's
would
very
slightly lean
close.
Whiteside there. And again, I didn't mean to convolute my thoughts on this front court if Gobert is out. If Whiteside gets the start, I would prefer Whiteside
Yeah,
over Mitchell
100%.
Robinson. But I think that the point being, we've seen multiple times now, right, with Gobert out, where Snyder's going with Azubuike and keeping Whiteside in that bench role. So I think that's what does happen if Gobert is indeed out. But we will get that news probably a little bit before 8 p.m. Eastern. So we'll keep our eyes on that. Can you go to anything from this Dallas side of the ball? With Jalen Brunson out, obviously THJ still out for this team. Marquise Chris, Frankie Smokes also out tonight for the Mavericks. It's kind of Luka or bust for me from this team, but I wouldn't fault anybody if they had some Spencer Dinwiddie in an MME build, but I don't think he's somewhere I'm going in a single entry.
I totally agree. Like, I understand Brunson's out and Dinwiddie should play 33 to 35 minutes, but he's priced for Brunson being out. And just, I think there's an okay floor, but like, it's just, there's been very little times this season where I've had interest in anybody outside of Luka from this team. Like,
Yeah.
other than when KP was there and Luka was out, that's the only time really. Some like 3,900 4K Reggie Bullock spots, but yeah, not the slate for me to go to Dinwiddie. Luka's fine, obviously. If you want to play Luka, it's easy to get to Luka and somebody else, but nobody else really from Dallas stands out per usual.
Before we touch a little bit on Miami and Houston, I do want to kind of address. I've been just kind of skimming the chat. I know a lot has gone by.
A lot of
that I
double
haven't.
T talk.
Yeah, a lot of Tristan Thompson talk. He did pick up the 10 here in the ranks. The power forward eligibility is too good for me to pass up, certainly in MME builds. And I think he's somebody you strongly consider in a single entry. Foul trouble or not, he's going to play probably till he fouls out if that does occur.
Like, Embiid gets everybody in foul trouble. Like, this isn't anything new.
Yeah, well, and just the fact that he's 3-2 and forward eligible, like we have to get there, and he projects really well. I mean, I've got him for 26 minutes right now, and coming in at about 24 DK points. So yeah, he projects great. I like getting there. We'll keep an eye on what the projected ownership ends up coming to with the next update, because I'm sure that's going to climb precipitously. We're having Nilo brought up a point that DeMar DeRozan with Vooch and Lonzo off this year is about 1.5 DK points per minute. And even when you put Levine on, it stays right around Jake coming in kind of with the secondary research here. It stays around the same rate. So I know we discussed earlier that we didn't have a ton of interest in DeMar and would rather go to Levine, but with Vooch out, does that kind of maybe push you towards having more interest, at least in like a build of 150 lineups? Would you get more DeRozan now?
Yeah, like DeRozan was not a bad play by any means. I just preferred getting down to Levine. But yeah, you can absolutely get to DeMar DeRozan, especially now with Vucevic out. Like, both players will be north of 30% usage and have to play massive minutes. So
Devin Vassell, Lonnie Walker, Keita Bates-Diop all ruled out as expected for the Spurs. We also got the Pistons starting Cunningham, Joseph, Bay, Grant, and Stewart. No surprises from Detroit. And Bogdan Bogdanovic will step into the starting lineup for Atlanta alongside Trae Young, DeAndre Hunter, John Collins into the starting lineup, and Clint Capella at the 5. The one game we really haven't touched on at all is Houston and Miami. This game being played in Miami. So Houston, the visitors here, obviously no John Wall, no Dennis Schroeder. He is out. Eric Gordon also out for this team. Usman Garuba remains out for the Rockets. On the Heat side, Kyle Lowry is back. Caleb Martin is in, and Victor Oladipo will make his season debut for the Heat, expected to be limited to around 15 minutes. So
he better score 30 real points in those 15 minutes for all the hype I've seen about Oladipo coming back.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the Heat when Oladipo comes back? Like,
yeah, I guess we'll see. The Rockets coming off a surprising victory over the Memphis Grizzlies, 11-point win there, putting up 123 points on the Grizz. We'll see if they can try to replicate that here tonight against the Heat. When you look at this somewhat shorthanded Houston team, this pretty much full strength Miami Heat team, does anything stand out to you from this game as a whole?
Not entirely. The only player that remotely stands out is Jimmy
Uh-huh.
Butler,
Uh-huh.
just because he's really affordable. I think he's 8,500 on DraftKings and like
Yep.
8K on FanDuel.
Yep.
Like that's really cheap for Jimmy Butler. And yes, this game projects to be maybe the most likely to blow out, but like you just said, like Houston just beat Memphis. Like they are outside of Schroeder healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Now obviously Miami is the far better team, but like Butler's the only one just because of the price. And like in 3 quarters, Miami has a high implied team total. He could still score like 48, 50 fantasy points and be really fine at that price. So it's really just Jimmy Butler for me.
Yeah, I mean these guys have been scrapping. That being the Rockets, right? And KPJ is somebody that on a different slate, I think I would have a lot more interest in. If I was building 150 lineups tonight, I would try to get over the field on Kevin Porter Jr. I don't think you have to play that much to do so. Eclipsing 41 DK points in 2 of his last 3. The minutes have been there in those games that stay close. Obviously, that's always an interesting or a tall task, I should say. Jeez Louise. The Rockets are 16-point road underdogs here to the Heat. So again, just a tournament play, but KPJ is somebody that caught my eye a little bit in that fashion. I guess you could run out some Garrison Matthews, who should see mid to high 20s and not the best fantasy producer, but at 3.5, somebody who's going to go overlooked with all this value we have on the slate. I wouldn't mind having, 3, 4, 5% Garrison Matthews in a build of 150. Probably not somebody I'm getting to maybe one share in 20 lineups. The Miami side, man, Adam, I don't think I can get anybody from this team with everybody healthy. You mentioned
Fair.
Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler, the one I would go to first, I think, at that 8.5 DK price tag. And then probably just Bam second, but I may have a share of Jimmy or 2 in 20 lineups, but nothing else from this Heat team for me.
Yeah, it's totally fair.
Well, let's turn to the chat here. We are about 8 minutes out from lock of this slate. Kruger's in here asking Pat Bev or Mitch Rob, and he's got one vote on each. So he called me the tiebreaker, but I'll throw it to you. Would you Pat Bev or Mitch Rob?
I would lean. We talked about this. I don't know if it was with you on stream or Kyle, but like whenever there's a really close 1v1, it's like, okay, who has a better chance of getting like a double-double if the question pertains to DraftKings?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's Robinson.
Yeah. I would also Mitch Rob in that situation.
And like I've been on Mitch Robinson all day. I gotta stay with Robinson, but it's extremely close, clearly.
Yeah. I mean, it would like if I'm running one lineup, like I said, my 2 studs I'm getting in there are Jokic and Towns. So I would have to Pat Beverly in that situation if I had 5-1 or 5-2, whatever it is left over. But just in a vacuum, give me Mitch Rob there. Woolsey asking, who do I like more out of Bogdanovich from Utah or Trendon Watford? It's very much Trendon Watford for me.
You don't think Bogdanovich is gonna have 11 threes again?
Did he really put up 11 threes?
He went 11 of 18 from 3.
Oh, well, see, that was yesterday. I was doing my soccer thing, so nobody
went
tell me what I was doing.
Crazy.
That's awesome. I mean, but that's the type of upside that obviously Bojan doesn't just bring once in a season. It's a couple times where he'll go 30 plus real points and put up a really good fantasy number, but that's not something I'm chasing by any means. And Trendon Watford, with that forward eligibility, should get 30 plus minutes. I would much rather roster him. Triple H asking, Levine 7,700 on FanDuel. Is that a solid play in your mind, Adam?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. Let's see where DeMar's price is at over there. Yeah, so he's the same 9.6 over there on FanDuel. So you're getting almost $2,000 in savings by rostering.
I don't think DeMar DeRozan scores like 10 to 15 more fantasy points than Zach LaVine today.
Sure. Well, now I really worry about a blowout in this game. Like they have no way to stop him.
The Bulls' record against like really good teams has been bad. It's not like they've been getting blown out though. But yeah, I mean, I don't like. They still have enough talent. Is this game in Philly or Chicago?
This game is in Philly.
I feel like that team is not on the road ever. I don't know what it is. Yeah, I still like LaVine a lot, though.
Let's see. Next question here. my guy Steelers fan was asking LeBron or Dejante, and if he takes Dejante, he's just going to eat that $700 in salary. I would do that, especially if you're in a large field tournament.
Yeah, I have Dejante over LeBron.
If that's your last guy in. And I think like it's wild to say, man, but like Dejante, a much better chance at picking up that triple-double bonus. And also, I think probably going to pick up more stocks and things like that. Like,
does anybody in the league have a higher triple-double probability than him right now?
Jokic.
I was going to say it's probably Jokic, and that's it.
I think those are the two, right, for triple doubles leading the league. I think it's Jokic 1 and Murray 2.
Like right now, it's Jokic, Murray, and probably Luka as the safest bets to triple double on a given slate.
I just got a football notification that I'm going to keep on my screen here because I want to ask you after lock about something else, another piece of football news. Actually, we could talk about two pieces of football news. The one I'm talking about, I don't think is the one everybody else is talking about, but we can discuss that as well. Ricky asking, F the Spurs or actual love for Trey and Primo? Trey Jones, a no for me, with Dejante healthy. Again, we mentioned I said about Primo earlier. Primo's somebody I would have more interest in on a more normal slate from a value perspective, but with all the other options, I certainly am not getting to Trey Jones, and Primo is probably somebody I would only have exposure to 1 or maybe 2 shares in 20, and probably like 4 or 5%, maybe a little more in 150 lineups. So yeah, I mean, I think when it comes to Trey Jones, and if you're in a single entry, a cashy scenario 3 max, you can also say F Josh Primo, as I did on draft night. 2v2 here from B Hucks asking Embiid and McDaniels or DeRozan and Sadiq Bey.
I'll lean Embiid side.
I agree. McDaniels picking up the extra time there with the T-Wolves shorthanded. Shazam, there he is. Fuck the Spurs. Brenton asking, is DeRozan still an 8? He is for me. Eights are people that would make it into my player pool in an MME build, certainly in a 20 max. So he just still doesn't project well enough for me, and I really worry about the blowout here. That line to 7.5 now, in favor of the Sixers. Anthony does chime in and says the Sixers never blow anyone out, so I guess I shouldn't be worried. We'll see. We'll see about that tonight.
Except when they blew out Minnesota in their first game with Harden, and then the fourth quarter pulled away. Right? Yeah, pulled away in that game. Blew out Cleveland. Well, no, they only beat Cleveland by 10, but that game wasn't that. I agree, though. For the most part, they really don't.
Mm-hmm.
But they also haven't had James Harden all year.
Very true. Let's see here. Next question. What does the Spurs news do for me? Asked Brock. I already had those guys out in the ranks. It does not change.
It makes you more excited about potential loss. That's what it does.
Yeah, exactly. Favorite Spurs value right now for me is going to be Primo.
Like I saw the hesitation, but it's got to be Primo, right? Like you can't feel better about Richardson than Primo or.
Well, it would be between Primo
McDermott.
And Doug for me. Richardson doesn't really factor in tonight.
Right.
In my opinion, he's going to play, but I not somebody I would be rostering in DFS tonight. It's very it's really a toss up for me, McDermott and Primo, and I don't like those guys are very much secondary values for me tonight. Barnes or Bogdanovich for you?
I'll go Bogdanovich. I don't love him tonight. Mm. Wait, which Bogdanovich?
I guess, yeah, Josh, let us know. Is that Bojan or Bogdan? He asked also Tristan Thompson or Damian Lee. I would Tristan Thompson now over Damian Lee.
Yeah, I would too. If it's Bojan, I would lean Bojan. I don't particularly love him tonight, but 5.2 is kind of still too cheap for him on DraftKings.
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with you. I'd rather play Tobias Harris than Dejante Murray. Well, good luck with that, Ant. Woolsey says, is Elijah Hughes still in play even though he's not starting? Elijah Hughes now off the bench,
I would
maybe 1 or 2 lineups in 150. That's my interest level in Hughes at this point. And I appreciate you pointing that out to me, Woolsey. he does get a slight downgrade here in the ranks.
The Bogdanovich question was pertaining to Bogdan, who was starting, you said, right?
Yes, you would still Bogdan, I assume.
Yeah, especially with him starting.
I am with you there. Under 30 seconds here, so get a couple more in. Primo and Barrett, or Beasley and Harris. I don't like Harris.
Yeah,
I like Beasley a lot.
I can't go with the Harris side. I just can't.
Yeah,
I can't do it. I can't do it.
I am with you. Tristan Thompson, Josh, and that will be the last question as we are locked. So we will pull up some ownership here for the first 2 games. Check that out.
I'm going to assume the answer is Tristan Thompson.
Yes, Tristan Thompson. Dinwiddie will start as expected for Jalen Brunson.
What a slate
to know. Yeah, hell of a slate. And
not
we're
the
not
way
done
it
with
started.
the news yet.
Yeah, not only the way it started, but like now we have Tristan Thompson. Like it's just who has been inactive for so many parts of the season, and now starting that game is massive, by the way. The Bulls and Sixers are 1 game apart in the standings. Like the NBA is so wild.
Yeah, I can't wait for the last 10, 14 days of the season. I think we're going to see some posturing in terms of trying to position yourself.
Who the hell knows who's starting at center for Cleveland with the way their injuries have gone this year?
Yeah, good point. Let's see. Before we get into some ownership and get out of here, I just want to remind everybody, if you are tuning in and you have not subscribed to FTN Daily yet, you can do so using the promo code FTNTV. It's all one word. FTNTV gets you 15% off any package here at ftndaily.com. The NBA package is $49.99 per month, so you can get the discount there. It's going to get you access to the optimizer. It has late swap capabilities, all the player projections, ownership projections from Kyle Murray and the team, all the great tools that we have here. We have all your industry standard tools, some unique ones as well. Our game environment tool, advanced EVP, our subs benefiting from that every day. I know there's a lot of discussion around those tools in the morning when the first look article is getting written, all that type of stuff. You get access to the premium Discord channel, which is the only place where we will answer questions during these free streams. Got to be a premium member to get those questions answered. You also get access to Fast Eddie Fear and Mime's ranks. All that stuff every single day, $49.99. Use promo code FTNTV. It's all one word, FTNTV, 15% off that package. And the best thing about that is if you do stick with us past that first month, you get that 15% discount applied every month going forward through the end of the NBA Finals. So when you do come, join, sign up, get in that Discord, tag Adam, tag myself. Let us know you're here because we would love to have you. And Adam, as I pull up the ownership here in the main DK tournament, I want to ask you 2 things. Number 1, this will be a shorter discussion. Why did the Browns, is it not a great way to start any sentence? Because that's almost every decision that they make. But David Njoku is a franchise tagged player now.
And they don't use him anyway. So
yeah, 11 mil. I love to see it, but it's just that was a big time head scratcher. And then Calvin Ridley suspended 1 year for gambling on football. Your thoughts?
I was just shocked he bet on the Falcons to win.
It's not in 2021, money, I guess, right?
Maybe 4 years ago, sure, but
oh man, oh shit, LeBron ruled out. Oh boy,
are you kidding me?
Adam, I'm just gonna read out this ownership here because we're gonna get back to work. Tristan Thompson came in up top 22%. That's not terrible. I would have been at least double the field on that, probably a little bit more with his forward eligibility. That late news helping out the ownership. Trae Young second at 13. Cade Cunningham picked up 10.5 alongside DeMar DeRozan. Joel Embiid 10% as well. Bogdanovich 9%. Zach LaVine, James Harden 7%. Let's see anything else standing out here. Marvin Bagley 2.5. That's not terrible. I think that's about it for the notables. So,
Russell Westbrook, anyone?
Oh my God. Heat will start Lowry, Butler, Robinson, Tucker, Adebayo. So Lowry back in and starting. We mentioned
this slate is very interesting though for LeBron to be out because do you necessarily have to go to the value in LA? Right? Like
Oh my God. Hold on.
THT, Melo, like you still have Golden State and Portland and some parts of Minnesota where there's potentially better value.
Yeah, I mean, give me a minute or two. I got to take care of some stuff here. The 9 to 5 calls sometimes win.
By the way, congrats on the Spurs victory today.
Can we get a Dejante late scratch too, please? Just for my fandom.
Oh my God, Westbrook is 6,900 on FanDuel, like we mentioned, and now LeBron's out.
It's a very nice price. Let's see, Russell Westbrook. All right, I think we're good there. All right, I apologize for the delay there. Gotta cover the tracks here sometimes when slate shifting news happens. So yeah, I mean, I know you just touched on it. Russell Westbrook talked about the pricing there. I mean, is he just a windmill slam at this point? Like, you're gonna see him go wild, right? Like, let's pull up some usage numbers from the last few weeks because I don't think the full season is going to be very beneficial for us, just because he was playing so much better, and I think I guess playing so much better at the beginning of the year statistically from a fantasy standpoint than he has been lately. I think maybe the morale has something to do with that. But the fact that there's no Bron, no Anthony Davis this year, that's given Russ a 7.8% usage boost. He has a 35.5 usage percentage, on the year with those two guys off the floor. If we just go, let's say, I don't know, New Year's Day till now, so the last 2 months or so with those two guys off the floor, 186-minute sample size, 34.7% usage. So still a 7.5% usage increase there. Yeah, man, Russell Westbrook.
What a crazy slate. We did get a question, like, does this impact Dejante for you? Like, I don't think it's like San Antonio's missing players too. Like, I don't see them just destroying this team. Like, they aren't good enough.
They might though. Lakers are pretty fucking bad.
Yeah, Anthony Davis is out too.
Yeah, I mean, but I think just for our purposes, getting LeBron out of the ranks here, I think Russell Westbrook still at 8-1 on DK, going to be a very strong 9 for me in the ranks. I don't think I can get him all the way up there to a 10. I would still rather Towns. And again, we have no issue getting Jokic into our lineup, so I still prefer him. But with Russell Westbrook opening up and being a very strong play here at 8-1, does that maybe lend some more credence to trying to fit in Russell Westbrook plus 2 studs? And maybe that means you can't get to Jokic because he has the 12K plus price tag there, 12.6, I think is what it is. So maybe you could get you can't get a Trae Young now, but can you get like Dejante and Russ and Towns now, something like that, right? Can't get the Bulls guys, a De'Aaron Fox, a Russ, and a Towns. Like maybe I think those lineups become more attractive now, but that's not the only player that's going to get a big boost here. Like I would think Malik Monk is going to be able to do almost whatever he wants.
22 to 25 shots.
Yeah, shot attempt wise is what I was getting at there. So I do like him a good bit.
Like LeBron's been questionable every single slate and plays. So I was like, okay, he's questionable. And I even wrote it in first look. I was like, LeBron's questionable, but per usual, will probably play. Yeah. Then he gets ruled out after lock.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody thought that he was going to sit.
He did just drop 56 though, so.
Yeah, but they're on an island game, I think, right? That was the 56 was on Saturday. They didn't play yesterday. They do not play tomorrow. And then they're only traveling to Houston for the game on Wednesday. So, yeah, unexpected for sure. Let's see. Tyreek says that's exactly what I just locked in. Cat, Dejante, and Russ. So there you go. Glad I still got it a little bit, I guess, Tyreek. I can't build the lineups, but can still kind of visualize what I would do in my head. HB Card saying Austin Reeves season. No, not for me, my friend. Again, that just comes down to the fact that there's so many other values on the other teams that still project way better than Austin Reeves. He's not going to get a huge fantasy rate bump from LeBron being out. It's mostly Russ and Malik Monk for me. Although I do think now we probably get Dwight back in there at center. So how do you feel about Dwight if he gets the start?
I mean, Vogel can't play DeAndre Jordan over him anymore. So there's that.
That's a good point. That is a good point. Yeah, so I think Dwight probably going to pick up a really strong rank here as well. How about Carmelo Anthony, Talon Horton-Tucker? Any interest in those guys? THT down to 4-1.
I honestly still wouldn't go to either player. And if I were to choose, it would actually be Melo.
Okay. I think both of those guys become playable for me now, but I would much rather just I would probably have my exposure limited, not by any sort of rule, but just by the crunch itself and the optimizer spitting out my lineups. It would probably just be Russ, Malik Monk, and some Dwight Howard.
I wonder what this does, because like now LeBron was going to be one of the more popular spend ups.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have no LeBron, so probably a lot more attention to Jokic that was already there. And same with obviously this came after the Philadelphia game locked, but like elsewhere you can, like, Dejante Murray probably gets a bump in terms of it wasn't like completely out of nowhere, but still like fully expect LeBron to play. But I don't think I think it moves the needle for Russ, obviously, especially on FanDuel, but like elsewhere, like I still don't see myself like, oh, stop what you're doing and get some players from this Lakers team in your lineup. Just because like nobody's that good. Like Monk has been good. Monk has been very good.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, you're still running out Austin Reeves. DJ Augustine's going to get out there back in Texas. I've seen
videos like, why did this team bring in DJ Augustine? Then he turns the ball over and it's like, oh, that's why. Because he fits the scheme. That's what everybody's been doing.
Triple H with a very solid question here. FanDuel, you've got Jordan Poole and Malik Monk at the same price, $4,700. Is that maybe a swap you would make? I guess I'll add on, especially if you had other Warriors pieces in your lineup. Would you maybe Monk over Poole now for lower ownership in tournaments?
If that's your build and that's the way your lineup is going, I get it. But just overall, I still prefer Jordan Poole 1-1.
Yeah, I am with you there. Let's see. Jake was asking, not on stream, how many minutes do you have Russell Westbrook for? It was 35. 35 for me.
I just feel like Russ still has those games in him where he just goes for like 28, 14, and 12, right? Like I think this is a spot where it's like he could easily do it. And like San Antonio against point guards has been a dream matchup.
Yeah, check this out. Garrison Matthews starting. Doesn't, he's still not going to jump off the page, but that's another player that like now in 20, certainly in 150, like we mentioned when we talked about the Rockets. Now you have to have some Garrison Matthews.
Don't do that again, by the way. You scared me. I thought you were about to say something like another star was out.
On a day like this, it could be anybody, anything at any time. Hey, guess what, Adam? Christian Wood is out. No bullshit. As soon as I said that, Christian Wood out. Şengün night, power forward eligible. It's all happening, folks.
Yeah, so happening. Like in all seriousness, like Alperen Şengün is a stud when Christian Wood is off the floor. He's so good.
God.
What the hell is happening?
Oh, goddamn. All right, we'll get Wood out.
Like, I don't even know if, like, Mitchell Robinson I love. Whiteside, if Gobert's out, you have to love. But now I just want Şengün.
Oh, my God. Can we just get, like, if we're having all these late scratches, give me a Bam and a Deadman late scratch and give me a Şengün versus Yurtseven matchup. That's just heaven for me.
I mean, Miami should. Now I'm worried about a blowout officially. Like, if you weren't already.
But see, this is what's crazy is like I would have had so much Tristan Thompson if I was playing, like at least 60% at that forward eligibility. And now I don't want any Tristan Thompson.
Right.
Because I can play Şengün. Even for the, what is he, 1,200 more? Give me all the Şengün in this matchup that should, be a blowout. But there's no Wood in front of him. There's no
Like you have to
Tice
put
behind him.
Şengün over anybody that's power forward eligible from Golden State now, right?
I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no Daniel Tice there anymore. Bruno Fernando is there. Usman Garuba is out, so it's gonna be Şengün and Bruno Fernando, and I think Şengün's gonna probably play 30, maybe get over that 30-minute mark, and at 4-4, he's a smash play now. Garrison Matthews at 3-5, I also like a good bit, as we discussed. And I think, Kevin Porter in the 150 max builds still warrants some consideration in those. Şengün over Kuminga. God damn.
Yeah.
Yes, but I love both of those guys. Yeah, I would still Şengün over the cum bucket, but my goodness, this slate. If you're good to stay on, Adam, we can stay through the 7:30 Eastern lock here.
Yeah, I got time.
Yeah, and of course, once we do go off the air, we will be around in the Discord reacting to any news. Who knows how much more we're going to get in obviously the starting lineups. We still don't know Rudy Gobert. He's officially a game time decision for the Jazz. Quick aside here, Adam. Cowboys seriously considering tagging Dalton Schultz. What do you think about that? Just all the tight end franchise tags? Is that the new thing?
My dynasty teams want Dalton Schultz in Dallas. So
okay, nice, very nice.
That's what I want. I don't give a shit about Dallas.
Dan asking a 2v2 here. Keldon and Kuminga or Hart and Şengün? It is the second one for me now.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, Herm. Damn, Herm says you only got to 3%, Tristan. Damn.
Imagine if Double T wasn't power forward eligible, and then we got the Christian Wood news, the impact that would have had, because you would have had to play him at center. Mm-hmm. And I know Şengün is power forward eligible as well, but Şengün, next year, assuming he's playing closer to 28 to 30 minutes a game consistently, he's going to be, I think he'll be in the running for most improved next year. He's good.
Let's see. Dello said he also had, 0% Tristan. Yeah, I mean, it's looking great now.
What's Thompson at so far early in this game?
Two boards and a foul? Turnover and a foul. So 2 fantasy points there on DK in 3 minutes. Not terrible. We're 3.5 minutes in. Embiid 3 points and a rebound. Harden 4 points. Nothing else.
Tobias, 1 assist.
Hey, we have liftoff. Still 53 people watching, only 21 likes. Give Adam a like for sticking around for another half hour. Come on.
12 early fantasy points for Trae Young.
Good start.
Like to see that.
Hot start in that game overall. Looks like 12 to 11, 4 minutes in. Jeremy Grant, 7 points. Some questions here. Moses Guthrie, good to see you, buddy. Are we anticipating a Primo start? I am.
Yeah, he started. He's been starting, right?
Yeah, he hasn't been starting, but he'll start for Vassell.
When Vassell's been out, he's been starting, right?
Yeah. It'll be the same for Dougie, Keldon, Pirtle, DJ plus Primo. Josh asking, LeBron out helps Monk, right? Yes, sir, it does. Kuminga or Şengün in single entry? Şengün now. But I have no issue pairing those two at this point.
Tommy asked if there's a starting lineup for the Rockets. Did we get a starting lineup or just the confirmation that
literally
Wood's
just
out?
Now as he asked that? So we appreciate that, Tommy, conjuring that from the Magic Discord. Porter Jr., Green, Matthews, Tate, and my guy Alperen Şengün at the 5. I can't. See, we got it. There's a higher bar for that, Sugar. I'm gonna take my shirt off for one, maybe triple digit.
Will Barton ruled out.
Okay, but I don't know if me taking my shirt off is that's not some sort of reward for anybody. So we'll figure something out, Sugar.
Kyle
projections
said,
updated. Yeah.
Just wanted
outside of the Barton news. So Kyle going right back into the projections tank. Let's get Barton out of the ranks here. What does the Barton news do for you?
Jokic.
Yeah.
Smaller chance of a blowout now.
Uh-huh.
Jokic will even have more usage. And I think, obviously Jokic, but Monty Morris gets a bump. Still tough to get to him, but
Doug said he'd rather me just mute.
How long's it been?
We'll take a trip back to the shelf here, Adam. Take a look at that. Feast your eyes. 39 days.
Well done.
About to hit the big 4-0.
It looks like the foul trouble concerns for Tristan Thompson were over-exaggerated because Zach LaVine just picked up a second foul.
There you go. And Tristan Thompson picked up a bucket. So four DK points in 4 minutes for Tristan. Let's see. Let's take a look at some Denver with no Barton. Who else is out for them? No Dozier, no Barton, no Porter. All right.
Thomas.
What did he say? Where are you at?
Said he really thought about purposely muting you for a second there.
Yeah, see, like, you can't say those things though, Thomas, because that's just gonna, like, you're planting the seed again in my head that you muted me that one time, the shadow mute, where I don't think I muted myself, but you still claim your innocence. Josh asking RJ and Lee or Barnes and Kuminga?
RJ side.
I agree. All right, so
I will say
Nuggets.
StreamYard, like I remember the one time I hopped into our stream and you couldn't hear me?
Mm-hmm.
It might be a StreamYard thing. You might like I believe you, pal.
It wasn't me. It's okay. It just gave me the strength to build this streak up to almost 40 days here. Best guess there's something. Yeah, you're probably right, Thomas. It was probably me kicked a chord like Eddie does on his setup. I think Monty Morris is going to pick up a bump in the rankings for me here. Does get a 3.1% usage increase with no Porter, Dozier, or Barton on the floor this year. Very minor increases for Aaron Gordon and Jeff Green. But really, Monty Morris goes from really what I thought was kind of unplayable from a value standpoint to I'm not going to call you crazy if I see him in a lineup. Still not somebody I'm getting to in any sort of cash build, single entry, 3 max, probably even 20 max. Not going to have any Monty Morris. It's like you said, first reaction, right? Jokic, more Jokic. So there you go.
Did we answer Şengün or Watford?
Yeah, that's where I was about to go for Woolsey here. It's Şengün for me. But again, that's a pairing where it's like kind of similar to Şengün Kuminga. I will also be perfectly happy with Şengün and Watford. I think the lesson here, if it hasn't gotten through to everybody yet, is everybody in that range, it's Şengün over everybody for me at forward. But it doesn't do much for Bones for me, Josh. It doesn't do Barton being out, that is, doesn't do a ton for Bones in the numbers or in my mind as a play tonight. Do you differ at all there? Maybe a Bones Highland shot in a 150 build?
Not on this slate.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Who's the MVP?
Jokic.
It was Embiid for me for a long time,
Mhm.
but I look at the records. I think Philly has one more win than Denver.
Do they really?
It might be
like,
one or
dude,
two.
Look who he's playing with. Look who he's playing with, and look where they
His
are.
season this year is
but
better than his MVP season last year.
Yep,
which is stupid.
He's insane. He's so much fun.
So I was Embiid for most of the season. The last week or so, I've switched to Jokic, but because Jokic won last year and Giannis has won 2, like if they give it to Embiid, I'll be very happy. I will not be upset at all.
Sure, I'm with you. Oh boy. Sorry, just continuing to pick up the pieces of this news with the 9 to 5 and trying to make sure I'm on top of that shit. Josh asking, last one, Westbrook and Keldon, excuse me, or Dejante Murray and Damian Lee. That's very close for me now.
Yeah, it's a lot closer now. I'm still leaning Dejante, but
yeah, I think I'm with you. I still slightly lean Dejante and Damian Lee. But But obviously that was not even a question 15
Right.
minutes ago. And now it's stopping and making us think. So I think Josh running a single entry tonight. So both of us would lean the Dejante side, but I think that's probably one where, like, as I say, in 20 lineups, if you like the rest of that lineup, just run both if you have multiple. Doug says Jokic has his MVP vote as well. P-Buck says slate is ridiculous. That may be an understatement, my friend. Let's see. Panoramic says he lost most of his Brandon Williams on FanDuel in his most recent crunch. It's interesting. I know the guard pricing is very different over there, from Russ's price to Poole to Monk now. Panoramic, I know he's asking Herm. Panoramic was asking Herm here, says maybe I'm wrong. How does Russ fail at 6,900 on FanDuel? I mean, he's just Russ as we've known him for the last 2 months. That's probably how he fails. But yeah, all the opportunity in the world. I'm not trying to say he's not a strong play, but I think both of us, Adam, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think both of us see plenty of ways where he could still fail in this situation.
Yeah, I mean,
even in the context of the slate, dude, like there's just
right.
Russ could put up a good number.
That's a better point, yeah.
And there's still going to be, I think, probably multiple guys that you'd rather have at the end of the night. Wolves will start Beverly, Beasley, McDaniels, Vanderbilt, Towns. So no surprises there after D'Lo got ruled out. I think that was the expected 5. Woolsey asking Donovan Mitchell or Jimmy Butler for you.
That's really close.
I'll spider Mitchell there.
I think because both will be so overlooked on the slate, I think Mitchell has a better chance of going for like 65. So I would probably lean Mitchell.
With you 3v3 here from P-Buck. Dejante, Towns, and Lee, or Fox, Jokic, and Moses Moody. First one for me.
Yeah. It's tough to not go with the Jokic side, but Dejante and Towns is just talking about 2 of the best 5 plays of the slate, in my opinion. Obviously, Jokic is in that category as well, but yeah, I like the Dejante side.
Let's see, about 3.5 minutes here till we lock that Houston-Miami game, and then we will go ahead and get out of here. Checking on the games, Thompson picked up another rebound. Looks like he's still out there. No huge performances to start. DeMar DeRozan, good start, 8 points, 2 assists, and a turnover in 7 minutes.
Trey's got 16.25 fantasy points, 8 points, 4 assists, 2 triples, and a board.
Hot start there.
Collins has been solid, 7 and 3.
Nice. Gobert, available.
Okay, a little surprised by that, but
different piece of news than we've gotten this entire day.
So much. Now you're looking at, in that range, Mitchell Robinson, Şengün.
Yeah, Şengün. Şengün.
Yeah.
P.S. Şengün is $1 more than Watford on Yahoo if you're making switches there. Appreciate that, Shazam, for any of our Yahoo players.
Tristan Thompson.
Putting on more points there?
Did pick up another foul, but he's got 4 boards and 4 points now.
It's exactly what you need from him. A little more than a fantasy point per minute. Doesn't matter if he fouls out. Unless if he's going to pull like a Mo Bamba
too, because
Suggs.
Yeah, you have to hope he can just finish close to Şengün, right? Let's
see here. Sorry, just trying to balance running the extra half hour here with other responsibilities.
Embiid and Harden, with 3.5 minutes left in the first, already have a combined 7 free throw attempts.
Yeah, sounds about right. Sounds about right. Let's see. Locked. All right. Very, very cool. Under a minute here until this game locks. Doesn't look like we have any questions queued up here. just our buddies Jake and Herm having one of their nightly chats here, talking about small forward exposure. Herm says he got off a lot of his Jimmy Butler. I would also be doing that. RJ Barrett, Josh Hart, Kuminga, close to the total small forward exposure there. That makes sense.
Tony Bradley immediately checked in and fouled Embiid on an N1.
Sounds about right. Maybe he can foul out
like
quick.
He immediately came in for a double T and fouled Embiid on a pull-up N1.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. All right, we will pull up. Yeah, I mean the Şengün ownership is going to be the thing that we need to see here. I imagine we'll get that populated in the contest in about 45 seconds, so we'll check that out and then get out of here. First time MMEing in a while. Okay, Josh, testing out the MME waters. Fucking welcome back on this slate. Okay, refreshing, grabbing the ownership. It's always fun to see the lineup, half an hour into the slate, especially on an 8-game where only 2 games have locked. And like the lineup in first, of course, has all 8 players playing. And just like, how badly did this person want to not win the tournament tonight? Victor Oladipo confirmed in. I thought we already had that. Same with Caleb Martin. Talon Horton-Tucker listed available to play, I think, as expected. All right, Adam. Alperen Şengün, the highest owned player in that Rockets Heat game. How owned was he?
Fucking
Christ, man. Here comes the Warriors news. They're not going to let us leave, are they?
Otto Porter Jr. out.
Yeah, Juan T is in.
I'll guess 20%.
Yeah, 28. Got up to 28.
Okay. I was very conservative, clearly.
Sure. Well, and it's still not a number, though, that we would have trouble getting over unless you locked in Tristan. But again, the power forward eligibility gives you some good options on how to get him in. Was Dennis Schroeder ruled out? Yes, he was, Tommy. Don't forget. Yeah. Oh, fuck. Damn. I appreciate you reminding me to check my super draft lineup. Me and Josh have a head-to-head series we've been doing for a couple weeks now, and he says right at lock, don't forget your super draft lineup.
And then madness broke.
As he said right at 6:30 Central here, which is when the Şengün game locked. So knowing that I wanted to get Şengün in there, appreciate that, Josh. Dan asking Beverly and Kuminga or Hart and Brandon Williams. I will slightly lean with the second option there.
Same.
Couple other pieces. Jimmy Butler, 10.5% on DK in that main tournament, 8% for Bam Adebayo, 4.5% for Jalen Green, 4% Tyler Hero, 2.5% for KPJ. And I love the 1.7% on Garrison Matthews at 3.5. Again, thought he was going to be low owned, even lower than I thought he would be. Dingo Şengün. Yeah. Appreciate you, Josh. All right, everybody. We'll deal with this Warriors news in chat. Again, Otto Porter is out. Juan T is in, that being Juan Toscano-Anderson, center only eligible on DraftKings. The available Warriors tonight: Jordan Poole, Damian Lee, Moses Moody, Jonathan Kuminga, Kevon Looney, Chris Chiozza, my boy Quindary Weatherspoon, Juan Toscano-Anderson, and Nemanja Bjelica. So rankings updates to come, projection updates to come. We will see you all in Discord, and we will deal with the rest of this madness throughout the slate. Again, you can sign up at FTN using that promo code FTNTV for 15% off any package. For Adam, I'm Zach. Shout out producer Thomas behind the glass. Good luck tonight, everybody, and as always,
let's get these beans.